Good morning, everyone. I think we'll get started. It's 8:33, so welcome everyone to Grand Rounds. It's my pleasure to host Grand Rounds this morning and introduce our guest speaker. Before we begin, I want to welcome Dr. Vera Etches, our new CEO, who's in the room for Grand Rounds, and welcome. Thanks for joining us this morning. We'll begin with our land acknowledgement. Ottawa is built on unceded Algonquin and Anishinaabe territory. The peoples of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation have lived on this territory for millennia, and we honor them in this land. Their culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. CHEO also honors all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples and their viable past, present, and future contributions to this land. So let's just take a moment to reflect on that. So our speaker this morning is Courtney, who I know well, and Kim is our family engagement leader in research at the RI. Kim has really done an outstanding job in the time that she's been in this role in elevating the Family Leader Program. She's also a child life specialist at CHEO, and so has firsthand experience working with patients and families. She serves as the staff lead with the Ontario Child Health Support Unit, or OSHU. She leads the Family Leader Program, which includes now over 60 family leaders collaborating with research teams to amplify the patient and family voice in pediatric healthcare research. She's passionate about integrating lived experience into research, policy, and clinical practice. She works to foster meaningful partnerships between families, healthcare providers, and researchers. And I would say that Kim has led a team that has put CHEO on the map across the country in terms of being leaders in family engagement in research. Kim, welcome.
Thank you so much, Jason, and it's great to be with you all in person and online this morning. I want to thank you for joining me, and if you've ever had a consultation with me, attended a meeting of our Research Institute's Patient Family Advisory Committee, known as the PFAC, or even just exchanged a quick email with me, I hope that you've gotten a sense of just how passionate I am about patient and family engagement in research here at CHEO. Grand Rounds is such a valuable gathering, and it brings together research and clinical practice in a very intentional way. Before working at the Research Institute, as Jason said, I spent several years as a child life specialist here at CHEO, but even before that, my first experience with CHEO was with my child. And I continue to access CHEO to this day for my son. So I want to explore that intersection with you a bit this morning, and so I'll be speaking from those lenses, from a research role, a clinical role, and from a parent role. And what I want to do this morning is really highlight for you the discoveries that we made along the way in our Family Leader Program. So I hope that sounds good to you, and we will jump in. So I wanted to start by talking really about the power of the patient and family voice. Every day I feel incredibly lucky to serve as the family engagement and research facilitator. And in this role, I really have a privilege of working closely with both families and researchers. And when we bring patient and family experience into research, we're doing something where something really special happens. It brings a voice to lived experience in a way that medicine alone cannot. There's a book I really love called The Wounded Storyteller, and in it, Arthur Frank describes this concept beautifully. The stories we tell about our lives are not just stories. They are the way we make sense of our past, shape our present, and imagine our future. So there are many reasons to include patient and families in research, but I really want to focus on this one key point, that we make space for stories. As healthcare providers and researchers, we work toward healing and recovery. But have you ever considered engagement in research as another avenue for healing and growth for your patients and families? When we make space for storytelling and learning from the very people our work impacts most, we offer an additional layer of meaning to health research. So now I wanted to tell you a little bit about how we got started. So several years ago, Holland Bloor Review launched their own family engagement and research program that inspired us to ask ourselves, could we do something similar here in an acute care setting? There was some initial doubts that if it could be transferable, but I'm happy to report that it worked and it continues to thrive and succeed several years now. So in our program, we were able to launch it with some funding from the Ontario Child Health Support Unit, or known as OSHU. So this grant helps us to provide methodological and data management support, along with guidance for patient partnerships and research. So we have a small but mighty team here at CHEO, which includes Jackie, and many of you know what the CRU is. It's the Clinical Research Unit, Roger, and Richard. So it's kind of a neat collaboration because we have patient engagement, but then we also have support for those clinical studies. And a fun fact you might not know is that we actually share this grant with Sick Kids, meaning the other half of our team is actually in Toronto. Since we have a broad audience here today, I want to ensure that everyone feels like they have a solid foundation in what the Family Leader Program is. So I wanted to share a short clip for you that introduces the Family Leader Program. And I really hope today, if you're joining as an expert in patient engagement and research, or if you're a trainee or a student, or you're someone working in CHEO on the clinical side and you're starting to think about research more and how you want to be involved, I hope this will give you a good foundation about what we offer here at CHEO to the families.
The CHEO Research Institute is one of Canada's leading centres for kids' health research. We're always working on new ways of helping children, youth, and families, making discoveries today for healthier kids tomorrow. At the CHEO Research Institute, we make about 500 new discoveries every year. We want to make sure that we're asking the right questions, doing the right research, and approaching our work so that it helps families like yours. And you can be part of it. Yes, you! Have you been involved in a research project at CHEO? Do you believe in the importance of research? Share your experience and interest as a volunteer with the CHEO Research Family Leader Program. You don't need to be a research expert. You are an expert in being a CHEO family member, and your perspective is very important. Your participation and contribution will help our research projects be more successful. As a research project reviewer, you will review short summaries of our research projects and give us feedback from a family point of view. As a research project advisor, you're with us from the beginning, as part of a research team. As a CHEO family member, you will have a chance to use your experience to help us solve issues that come up along the way. When you join the CHEO Research Family Leader Program, we'll work with you so that your role fits with your schedule. Make a difference. Help other families. Be part of the discoveries. Join the CHEO Research Family Leader Program.
So I hope that gives you a bit of a sense of what we're kind of aiming to do with the Family Leader Program. So our program started with a very small group of patients, former patients, and a few research staff, and that has grown to over 50, and now we're actually over 60 family leaders who are actively involved in research here at the CHEO-RI. And they come from an array of lived experiences and backgrounds that really gives us a nice sampling of the community that CHEO serves. So that first level that is mentioned there in the reviewing, we see this as like a perfect entry point for engagement. So family leaders, they receive a summary, and usually it's about research that's related to their lived experience. And then through REDCap, our survey tool, they provide feedback, and they can do this asynchronously over like a 2-week period. And this approach has been widely adopted, particularly in our internal grant competitions. And what we found was, since we added that to our internal grants, that many teams now use this service when preparing applications for external grants, or maybe it's not even research related to an internal grant at all. And what we really found was offering this easy entry point into engagement really built a readiness in the family leaders, but also in the research staff. So it's done remotely. It doesn't take a big commitment from the family leader or the researcher. And we're just so pleased to see how that helped us to get ready to extensively partner in longer and more engaging ways. And really, one of the best parts is with some of the feedback we got from the researchers and the family leaders, we added a circle back section. So in this part of the grant application, it allows the family leader to hear how the researcher responded to the feedback they gave and see any resulting changes in their application. So it really closes that loop and shows the family, I took the time, I wrote this review, what happened to that review? Sometimes they wouldn't know otherwise. So if we can close that loop for them and show them that impact, then it really enriched that research activity for them. The second level is consult. So if you would like a one-on-one consultation with me, I'm just an email away. We also offer short virtual meetings for broader discussions. And if you're unsure, which level of engagement really fits with my project, you can just reach out and we can have a meeting and figure out which engagement activity best suits your project and your team. We also host consultations with our research PFAC. So there's even a PFAC member here today, but it includes youth, families, and research staff. The teams share what they're working on, and then we jump into this rich, unhurried discussion. And it sparks new ideas and things about the research maybe they hadn't thought of. And many teams actually return to us to share with us how that feedback impacted the direction of their research or where the research is now. And it's a very I would say open and safe space. So sometimes a research team will come back to us and say, I added these things, but I'm still struggling. I can't seem to recruit for my study. What do you suggest? So there's a space there where you, even as a researcher, I think you can feel comfortable to have some vulnerability and say, my study's not quite going how I expected. Is there anything that you could suggest or add? Or our study is now complete and we want to share this, but how should we share it? We have a research journal, but what other avenues could we share this discovery? So that's always fun too when they come back to us and we can give them feedback at different intervals within their project. Here's a quote from research manager Sonia. She said, our team needed to make revisions to our grant application, and the PFAC's feedback was instrumental in securing funding in our mindful self-compassion diabetes research. So it's always nice to hear that too, that feedback from the researchers that it really did help and advance their work. So when we talk about engagement, I really mean a dually meaningful relationship, both for the researcher and the family leader. It's not one-sided. There's several advantages for both groups. And then that final level, which is kind of, I think, one of our favorites, is the advise level, where the family leader ends up joining, and there's a long-term partnership, usually at the pre-grant stage onward. So it's really nice if you can invite family leaders in, and that might feel a little bit vulnerable, right? When it's pre-grant, it's still a little messy. We don't know if we're going to get funded or not, but it actually helps with that power dynamic, because if you can even say to them, I've never had a family leader before, or this is sort of the direction of the grant, what do you think of the grant application? Could you help us, work on certain sections of it, maybe simple language section or the dissemination section, and you can just kind of invite them into the messy, invite them early, and and just open yourself up to that, because then the family leader feels like, oh, we're all figuring it out together, and it doesn't feel like they're sitting around a table of all these professionals and then they're just the one person who's just a parent. We don't want ever them to feel that they're just a parent because they're bringing, or a patient, they're bringing a voice and an experience that would be missing in our research otherwise. So it's really important we make a space where they really feel comfortable to share their perspective and their feedback, or if they think something isn't working or the way something is worded could be adjusted. So this level requires thoughtful, intentional collaboration. It requires the family leader to be able to join in regular meetings as this project makes its way from start to finish. So it does take a little more time and effort, but the teams that we've worked with who have had patient partners now tell me they can't imagine doing research any other way. And they sometimes, maybe they invited a family leader near the end when they were having trouble, but their next project, they're going to invite them right from the beginning. And just having that patient-family voice we hear has really enhanced their research. And it's also very meaningful to the family leader that you invite them in that early, and they really do feel like that's a partnership, and they've been a part of that team since the very beginning. In the slide here, you'll see an image of Mairead, one of our family leaders. She's presenting at the Child Health Canada conference. And something that Mairead and I are very proud of is particularly how we expanded these partnerships into basic science, which was an area we hadn't really gone in the first few years, and we weren't sure, are we going to be able to partner at that rich level in like preclinical basic science? And Mairead is actually a basic science researcher herself now. She's a former patient, but now she's working in basic science. And she really helped me to adjust that survey tool. She's really great at presenting kind of complex concepts at a level for a non-expert. We actually just had her last week at our PFAC meeting, and it was really full circle because she was my co-chair, and now she's coming and presenting her own research to us. But yeah, we've made some great strides, especially in an area that had a few more challenges. A lot of researchers that work in basic science haven't worked maybe directly. They're not as patient-facing as a clinical staff would be, but there is absolutely ways that we can partner together. But now I'm done talking, so I'm gonna just share a video with you of a few words from our family leaders who had something they wanted to share with you this morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Leanne, and I want to thank you for allowing me to speak here today as part of this presentation to Grand Rounds. I am the mother of a son who has a rare genetic condition called Russell-Silver syndrome, and we've been part of the CHEO family since before he was born, and he is now a 14-year-old teenager who has seen many different clinics at CHEO, but is thriving and doing well these days. So I wanted to just talk briefly about the Family Leader Program at CHEO and how we've been involved with the Research Institute. I decided a few years ago that I really wanted to be more involved with CHEO and bring our perspective to the research that's being done at the hospital. I think it's so valuable. I have a background in health research myself, and I think the perspective that comes from families is so unique because there are ways in which we can really bring light to the ways in which research can actually impact families. I know specific research questions are always driving the actual research, but bringing it home to the people that actually will use this information or will be impacted by this information is really important. And if I can just provide a few tidbits on how I think families can be involved in the entire research process. I know part of the work that I've done is helping with the grant reviews, and I think helping to advise or give information on the research questions is really important, because sometimes just those little tweaks or pieces of information can really help to make the research relevant for families, for really getting down to the questions that are important. But there's also the research design, and how the research questions are addressed can really be influential from the family perspective, not only in terms of getting the families engaged in the research and participating, but also in making sure that the research questions or the way the research is being designed can really be easy for families, or the ways in which families are best able to participate, and learning how to engage families in the best possible way. And the last piece I think is really important is the dissemination piece. How can research really reach those families so that they know that the work that they're doing or the participation really makes a difference? So things as simple as, how will I get my information out there? What is the ways in which I can make sure that families are able to use the research, not just put that research out there for academics, but informing families on how the work can impact their own lives. Sometimes that's the key driver to getting people to participate, is really knowing that their participation will have an impact for other families. So again, I just want to say thank you to this group for allowing families to become involved in research. I know I am super passionate about the work or the teams that I have helped to participate or helped to engage with, but I know that there are other families like me who really want to give back and want to be able to give the information or share the information that they've collected over the years of being involved with CHEO, and how can they use that information to help other families, to help researchers, and to really move the needle forward in terms of making our health system the best that it can be for the future.
And I think Leanne is on the call, so thank you, Leanne, for that. And we also have a quote here from Nat. So Leanne, she does a lot of the research reviewing, and then she also is an advisor. So in the program, you can actually choose as a family leader, like, how involved do you want to be? Do you want to be on the PFAC? Do you want to do a review occasionally? Do you want to be a long-term advisor with one team? You can kind of pick and choose, and we also have flexibility. Sometimes there's something that happens in like their child's health journey, and they need to step back, sometimes even for a year, and then they'll rejoin again. So they can do as little as an hour a year, or they can do as many hours as they want every year. And I really like that we offer that, because it really reduces that barrier for participation. And so much of it is virtual too, so the family can join in from home. So Leanne does reviewing and advising, and Nat, the quote from her, she's on our PFAC. She also works on some multi-site projects that CHEO is involved in. So we have like a nice, we even have a nice array of different types of engagement within our program. So I want to help you now. There's probably some resources you might need, and if you're thinking, oh, okay, how do I get started? So if you're wondering if you're considering expanding your patient engagement in your research or even your quality improvement work, I want you to know as well that the Office of Research Services has many professionals who can help you. So the RI offers an array of services and staff who can help you. We have things from a research navigator, if you're really new to research and you're just kind of finding your way, all the way to a dedicated team at the grants office who can help you figure out, what grant you could apply for. How can you strengthen your grant application? We really want to really offer you a whole array of services so that everyone at CHEO can feel like they can be involved in research. Reflecting over the past 5 years, it's really clear to me that CHEO and the RI value patient and family inclusion. But the real challenge is the how, and since this field is relatively new, it's not something most of us studied in university, and it can feel a little bit daunting. But I want you to, don't worry, because we have some dedicated research staff and family leaders who have been working to create templates, guides, and videos to support you on your journey. And these can be found on CHEOnet and also on the external page. And what we did is we made these resources very specific to CHEO RI. So even a grant competition like the Research Growth Award, we have an infographic. We show you these are the 5 steps of doing the infographic. Here's a video. If you're going to be writing your summary that you're going to submit to a family leader, here's some things to include. So we really are trying to help you at each step and made it very specific resources for everyone here at the CHEO RI. But interestingly, when we put out that guidebook, it really got picked up by a lot of other sites who are now making their own guidebook, and they're kind of using some of the templates that we have there for their own program. And Sophia will tell us a bit more.
Hi everyone, my name is Sophia Konstantakis, and I am a family leader at the CHEO RI. I've been a family leader for the past 3 years now, and today I'm really excited to speak to you all about one of our resources within the Family Leader program, which is our guidebook. And so we have created a guidebook to help you all understand family engagement and research a little bit better, and also to help, of course, our new family leaders understand their role within research when they are participating in family engagement. And so this guidebook underlines the three main levels of engagement in our research program, so the review, consult, and advise levels. And so this can really help you better understand each level and understand how they might contribute to your research project right now, or which one is best suitable for your project at the moment. For example, it details the perspective of a researcher as well as of a family leader for a review level and how that can improve your grant applications. Other than that, though, in the 2024 revised guidebook, which I'm really lucky to have been able to contribute to with Kim and other family leaders, we have included a new section on partnering in basic science. And so we understand it might be difficult to start a partnership with a family leader or a family advisor when you are doing research in basic science. But this section can be really key as it outlines every step, every detail that you can consider when starting these partnerships. And so I think it's a very useful resource for the CHEO RI staff, as this can really help you start a meaningful relationship with or collaboration with a family leader to allow them to give their perspective, even if your research is in basic science. So we've included a memorandum of understanding, or a sample of a memorandum of understanding in this section, as we believe that's a key tool that you can co-create with your family leader so that both of you really understand your roles, your levels of engagement within the project and the team, as well as what you both expect out of this collaboration, so you can start the partnership at the outset of your research and really have it last for the duration of your project. So we hope that you guys will find this resource really useful. It's available to all of you on CHEOnet as well as on the CHEO's external website. And so I hope you'll go check it out. And thank you so much for letting me speak today. And I hope you all get involved with family engagement in research. Thank you.
So thanks, Sophia. I think she's also on the call this morning for sharing that with Grand Rounds this morning. So now I just want to talk a little bit about some key learnings and some very practical pearls I hope that you can take with you today. One thing that was quite a discovery for me was the importance of psychosocial care in research partnerships. And I had come from a child life role, which is very therapeutic and psychosocial in nature. And I was amazed to see how important those skills and that training was as someone who was facilitating family engagement and research. So just really ensuring that teams are prepared for collaboration. I help the teams to foster those relationships, but beyond, like moving beyond our professional titles, and maintaining regular communication and addressing power imbalances were key factors in the success of the partnerships. And many family leaders, their reasons for being involved in research are deeply personal. So it's really important that we consider that when they partner with us. I really love the author Sue Robbins. She's She's heavily involved in engagement here in Canada, and she's written several books on the topic. But in her book, Ducks in a Row, she emphasizes that partnering must be relational and not transactional. It must be more than a checkbox. And we can say that to family leaders and that they're important to us, but it's really essential that we show that in our actions. So something that we found that worked really well, as Sophia was describing, was this team charter or MOU. And it's really neat how this came about, because we started working in that basic science preclinical area with Jason, and it was a new area for us, and we didn't really know what we were doing. So we were like, okay, well, let's write down everything that's working on the clinical side, and what were like some of those pitfalls that we experienced on the clinical side, and figure out like, how can we address them, and how do we manage that, and let's document that. Let's write that down, the learning, and build out a template. So Jason and his team were very patient, but we had several iterations of what that MOU looked like. It ended up being a very detailed, practical plan forward, and it was there was a lot of precision even in Jason's team has 3 family leaders, and the things that were meaningful to them were different among all 3. So we built out that team charter to really ensure we're hitting those points for each of those family leaders for the things that were important to them. And we created this tailored document. And then when we started using it, it seemed really helpful. And now we use it for every team at CHEO. And that is the thing in the guidebook that has been really picked up by other sites. And it's important to include things that you maybe wouldn't think of, like what if someone wants to leave your program? What if you've invited, someone with a different perspective in, and there's some sort of conflict, or everybody's viewing the project differently? Like, how do we handle that in a project? Or even, how do these family leaders want to be recognized and compensated? Some family leaders, maybe they don't want any compensation at all, or maybe they would really appreciate a gift card at certain intervals. So if you really work into that team charter, all of those little components, how do they want to be contacted? Maybe you have a family leader on your team that English isn't their first language, and they would like the team meeting to be recorded so that they can watch it again. Or maybe they want the slides in advance. These are all things that you can work out from the very beginning with your family leader. And what we found is when you do build out that team charter, the engagement levels have been really high, meaningful, and the process has been smooth. So that's been helpful. Like even small things like communication, sometimes as parents, like even myself, if there's a study that I'm working on, like my son and I, we've partnered on a study, and if I didn't hear for a little bit from that team, I do start to wonder, like, do they still want me involved? Was I not, maybe what I gave at the meeting wasn't contributing very much, or maybe they'd rather I wasn't on the project. And I start to question myself and my involvement and if it's helpful or not. But it turns out the equipment needed for the study we were doing was, delayed in the shipping, and it wasn't that at all. And they didn't have really an update for us, so I hadn't heard from them. So something we built in the team charter is those regular check-ins with the family leader. Maybe you have a point person who writes them even, once a month, just a couple lines to say, here's where we are, recruiting's up to this amount now, our next meeting is here. So even just little things like that, being very intentional about making sure the family leader feels looped into your team is very helpful. And planning for compensation, you can always reach out to our finance team at the RI. They can help you figure out, if you're going to be doing a gift card, or if the family leader would like a check, how to do that, and the implications with CRA if the amount is over $500. All those little pieces that you kind of need to know, you can line that up early so that your family leader is never in a position where they're begging you, like, could I really have that gift card now that you promised? So just building that out early in that MOU it just sets you up for, now we just call it like our recipe for success. Like it's just such a great way to go. One other kind of pearl I want to share with you is something that we're hearing again and again from all the family leaders who actually are actively involved as participants in studies as well as partners, is they tell us they love when you close the loop. So after the study concludes, let's be intentional about sharing those findings. If you want to host a chat time online, Sick Kids has a I think they call it like a tea time or something. Like they have like a little session that's virtual and everybody has a tea and we talk about the study and we invite families and researchers all on the call. So you could do something like that. You could invite your participants and partners. You could organize a little science cafe. We just had one last week upstairs in the lab. You could invite families to a gallery space. Maybe you can display results. Show us those zebrafish. Like we really want to see, what's happening in there. And maybe you just have a photo display and some snacks, and you invite the family and research staff, and we all mingle at the gallery together and talk about those findings. And these are ways, too, that we can share what we're doing at CHEO beyond the walls of CHEO. And maybe you'd be surprised to know, I've been quite fascinated to see how much the community, beyond even parents and families within Ottawa, are interested in the things we're doing. So I encourage you to share your results in public spaces so we can really invite the community and public partners into our work. And now as we look ahead, I just really hope that this talk today has sparked some excitement for you in the future of research at CHEO, and it really encouraged you to consider your role in it. And I think this is perfect timing for you because as we are starting our Permission to Contact program that you've probably heard of, Research Connection, I hope that you'll be able to see how being a participant or being a partner in research is another valuable service we offer to patients and families. So when we talk about research, I want you to feel like that's one more modality. That's one more thing you're offering to patients and families. Because I think sometimes we feel a bit apologetic, like, oh, we're bothering them about one more thing. But you'd be amazed how much patients and families are interested in research and want to be involved. And I hope I've showed you that it can be actually really meaningful for their healthcare journey and even their healing and closure, maybe about their experiences in the healthcare system. As a child life specialist, I often hear families at CHEO say to me, oh, I heard CHEO was great, but now that we're here, wow, I feel it. That's what they say to me when they're on the ward. And what I want for our community now is to feel that strongly about our research. That, wow, when you hear that from patient and family, how they feel so taken care of, I want them to feel that same excitement about the research that we're doing at CHEO. Did you know that one of the 4 guiding principles in the RI's new strategic plan is about engagement? It says, our research matters to families. We partner with children, youth, and families at all stages of research to make sure our discoveries reflect their goals and needs. So this is a great time. I've reflected on the last 5 years, and I'm so excited about the direction we're going now. And family engagement and research, since I've been with the RI, was always embedded in what we were doing, but now we're putting it front and center as one of the 4 guiding principles at the RI. So there's been a lot of growth and learning and discoveries, and I really envision our family engagement and research program expanding. I think we'll see more public and wider community involvement as there is this increasing excitement and awareness of the care and research that's happening at CHEO. You can find our resources on CHEOnet under that Family Leader Program and also online. So if you're like, I really want that guidebook, it's there for you. You can always email me as well if you would just like some help getting started on your way. And I hope that today's presentation has inspired some new ideas on deepening our patient and family engagement here at CHEO. And I guess we can open the floor if there's questions. I find there often are. So I want to say not any questions, but rather frame it, what are your questions? Because if I frame it that way, then it's like, it's letting you know, I assume there's questions and I invite your questions. So what are your questions?
Thank you so much, Kim. Your passion is like palpable. I think everyone's heart rate has gone up, and it's really exciting. And I've learned so much from working with you directly and working with family leaders. And we heard Leanne, one of the parent leaders, talking about impact, and I had the privilege and pleasure last night of having dinner with Polly Bear, the new CHR president, and his mandate that he's hearing from government, and I think it'll be regardless of who's in power, around what CHR needs to do is impact, 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 impact. And so, partnering with family members, with family leaders, with patients, make sure that the work that we're doing is impactful and that we're answering the right questions. So with that, we'll take some questions from the audience. We have 75 people online and a full room in here, which is wonderful. So questions or comments for Kim? I actually do want to call out Dr. Sean Bogue, who's one of our basic scientists, who's part of the PFAC and has worked very closely with Kim. And so thanks, Sean, for your commitment to that and for being here today. Go ahead. Yeah.
Hi there. Kim, it's so amazing to see you in that space now. Hi. Sorry, that's not my name on the screen. It's Blaine. Yeah, it is so amazing. You are just such a rock star with engagement, and I think you got my emotion from there. Can you tell me what was essentially the length of time? Like, how long did it take you to kind of create your guidebook, create your framework for this? Like, it's as you were going through, it's so much, it's so detailed, very, very important. What were some how long did it take, and what were some things you learned along the way?
Blaine, before Kim answers, and I thought that was you. I couldn't tell from you're very small. You're very small on screen. Do you want to just provide a little bit of your background and context? So, because some of us know you, but not everyone knows you
Oh,
within the RI
sure.
group.
Sure. So my name is Blaine Wolf. I am the engagement a lead for the Anishinaabe, the Children's Health and Wellbeing Measure at the CHEO RI. So a big part of my role is engaging with Indigenous communities and building those relationships and partnerships. We do it more on the health equity side, so not as much on the research side, but there's still so much to learn from you, Kim. So I'm gonna mute myself so I can let you talk.
All right. Thank you so much for joining this morning. It's great to have you. And excellent question. It's taken some time. I will say it's taken about 5 years to really get to the point we're at today. Something that's really helped is we started a Oshu and Friends, it's called. It's a group of other folks who are doing engagement work across Canada, and now it's actually expanded into the US. And I think that was really pivotal in getting to where we are with our program, because I was able to reach out to people who work in this very specialized area, and we would share resources. We would talk about the challenges we had, and then we would make tools together even. So I think if you can find other people doing similar work and share share that gray literature, like what do you have that not everyone has access to. Are you working on a new resource? What are you planning to include? So just having that real-time contact with other engagement leads was really helpful. And then I think here at the RI, when the program was a bit smaller, I was a part-time position. And as we grew, we started to look at, here are the things I'm not able to do. And then the RI expanded my role to include like full-time hours. So I think that time is something we realized was needed because, well, even in child life, we talk about the maintenance of the therapeutic relationship. When you have 60 family leaders who are involved for very personal reasons, and they are giving of their time, when their child may be still quite sick and visiting CHEO regularly, it's so important to invest in those relationships. So I think that's really helped, is making sure that I check in regularly with those family leaders. Sometimes we just meet for a coffee. Sometimes we don't even talk about the program. It's just how they're doing. So I think if you can really leverage time to build those relationships, it helps. Because something we've noticed too is a lot of the family leaders that have joined, they stay. And they're still here with us, so we don't have a lot of turnover, and we just have more people wanting to join every week, it seems.
Thanks, Blaine, and thanks for everything that you do in your program. Other questions? And Kim will repeat the question just so that because I don't think people online can hear from that distance.
Thanks so much. That was awesome, and I agree. Your passion is emanating in the room, and we love it. If we're looking for somebody with a very specific experience, is it possible, or should we reach out to you to find that person, or should we just sort of like reach out? Do you have like templates? How do we do this? Yeah.
So the question from the audience is, if, let's say we're doing research on a very specific area and we're really hoping to find a patient or family partner with that specific lived experience, what's the best way to go about doing that? And I love this question, and the answer to that, I think, is you can reach out to me. Since we do have an array of family leaders, I'm really intentional about making sure we have people from so many different backgrounds and, that visit different departments at CHEO. Like when we're recruiting, we're quite intentional about that. If I don't have someone with that direct lived experience, sometimes what I'll do is then I'll do a little campaign and recruit for that lived experience. And see if we can find someone. Sometimes I'll do that in multiple ways too. Like we might share it online. We might go to a clinic that would support a family with that lived experience and ask them, do you have a family that's really interested in research with that lived experience? Because we have a researcher looking to partner. And actually, sometimes that's how family leaders have joined our program, is just from that intentional recruiting for that specific family leader. And then if your area of study is quite specific, like maybe if it was, for example, like rare disease and a very specific rare disease, then I'd probably suggest we do one of those written reviews with a summary and get someone with that direct lived experience. And then sometimes if we have a few and you want to just talk with them live and have that rich discussion, then we'll plan sort of a mini PFAC, you could say, and we'll just invite those people who have maybe lived experience with chronic pain just to that meeting so we can discuss your project together. So we really can tailor the service we offer you to kind of your specific needs. And more general things that would really value like an array of voices, like let's say the rollout of the permission to contact program. That's a really great one to come to the PFAC, where we have researchers, former patients, parents from just an array of backgrounds who can really give that like fulsome view. So yeah, we can really tailor it to your needs. Some research teams, they have someone in mind. So they're like, oh, there actually is someone, that I know or came to my clinic. Could you help me start that relationship? So usually I'll reach out to them. We'll do like an e-introduction. We'll have like a video call together. Usually if you're new to research, I'll sort of set the agenda. We'll have like a fun activity just to get started, just to like make sure everybody's feeling good and comfortable. We'll talk a bit about the project, and then I'll follow up with them after. So even if you're new to research, don't be shy about forming that relationship. And I like to stay with teams in the beginning as long as they need me. So maybe once you've had a partner or two, you don't need me to join every call. But if you're in those beginning stages, I absolutely will make time to be there and guide it for you.
Thanks, Kim. That's very helpful for you to talk about that sort of broker, serving in that brokering role, where someone may have a therapeutic relationship or clinical relationship with a family, but then moving that to a research relationship may, it's a different step. Okay. Maybe we'll go to Dr. Jetty, and then we'll do a comment from the chat.
So much. This was just such an incredible presentation, and my area of focus is Indigenous child health, and that's where my research work is as well. And that's always been a challenge for us, is to provide the support for families to be involved. And that was actually one of my questions, is around EDI and trying to ensure that representation of various different family leaders. My question has to do with, if we identify someone who could be, an ideal family leader, is there a way for us to connect them with you and to have maybe some flexible sort of involvement from the family's point of view? Because, as I'm sure so many families are in different circumstances and they don't necessarily have the time or the capacity. So is there that flexibility to support someone if we suggest an individual to you?
Yep. So the question is really around EDII, and if we're trying to maybe recruit a family to be involved in our study who might need some flexibility about what that involvement looks like. How do we go about starting that partnership? And I hope I captured that correctly. Okay. And the way I would suggest that too would be, sometimes I've had clinics where they'll share our guidebook, or they'll share like the website and kind of introduce them a little bit to Family Leader Program to just see it initially, is that something that might be interested? And then usually, we'll book a call with them and we'll kind of talk about our program and their interests. Sometimes their interests actually more align with the FAC on the CHEO side. If they're really interested in like quality improvements and things, we kind of just see initially like where would be the best partnering for them. And actually the family leaders, they really own this program. It's their program. So even when they're out in the community and if they meet another family, sometimes they'll recruit for me. Like, it's a lot of word of mouth. And they know like a big part of our own like act of reconciliation is having more Indigenous family leaders in our program. So actually one of the family leaders we have now is because one of the PFAC members met them and they were talking about research. And then he said, oh, I think you really should be on Family Leader. And then when I met with her, she had so many neat different things she wanted to work on that instead of joining our program solely, she actually is now linked with the iIdeas team because some of the changes and things she wants to work on are even bigger than Family Leader Program. So we just kind of found the right spot for her. But in that example, she is still a family leader, but I really only consult her very rarely for specific projects. And I think too, if you're trying to recruit like a historically underserved group, you have to be mindful of how much they get asked now to be on projects. So at the RI, it's really important to us that we compensate them quite well for their time, because otherwise they could just be a volunteer full-time, right? Like there's so many groups and agencies that are wanting their voice. So we have to really, I think, show that that their time is valued, that we are picking specific projects. Our other Indigenous family leader, we actually waited a whole year to find the right project for him to partner on and the right team that could really provide a safe environment for him. Because he had been a former patient at CHEO, and it wasn't the most positive experience for him, but he wanted to give back. So sometimes we wait a while too to really make sure we have the right match for the level of engagement that the family leader wants to do. But yeah, thinking about those barriers, like, can that team meet in the evening? Like, they may not be available during the day. There might be, maybe they only have 1 hour. So let's really think about how we use their time on that project. I hope that helps. But yeah, we are very flexible. Like, we can just have them work on one project here or there, or sometimes we even have them just work on one specific thing. Like a few family leaders just helped with the strategic plan. So yeah, lots of flexibility, and really any new or different change we've had in the family leader program that has been successful, it was really from the researchers' feedback and the patients and family. This whole program is just a living document, really. Like it just there's a lot of iterations to how we do things. So we're open to whatever works for your team and the family you have in mind.
Yeah, you never know what will happen during PFAC. I presented at a PFAC, and one of the PFAC members, who was a former patient, ended up working in my lab for a couple of years and is now doing a family medicine residency at Queen's. So you never know. Jenny Lee, who's our Director of Research Operations, Kim wants to know, for those new to family engagement research, what supports are offered to help develop the team charter and identify the key questions that will inform its creation.
Okay, so what supports are offered? So what we have is, in that guidebook, there is a template for specifically that kind of partnering. Like if you want to add someone early and keep them on, there's a couple pages there and a ton of links to really help you. There are so many resources. They're the ones that we've made here at CHEO for you specifically, but there's also some outside of CHEO that I'd highly recommend. So if you're new to family engagement and research, you're very excited about it, McMaster actually offers a 10-week course on family engagement and research, and it's a great way to start because half of the attendees are family leaders and the other half are research professionals. And then in the final couple of weeks of the course, you actually co-create some kind of resource, document, podcast, something together. And on the McMaster Family Engagement Research, on their page, they actually share all those student projects. So you get to see these new, things that are coming out. And the one that I did during my cohort, so I was with Shelley, one of our family leaders, and we worked with a team, is we kind of wrote sort of what Blaine's question was about that roadmap, like how do you start a family engagement and research program? So that's what we picked for our project. But that course is fabulous. I think it's about $800, but it's an amazing sort of micro course that you can do through McMaster. And really what that unlocks for you is the alumni of that program. And a lot of those researchers and patients and families are working together now on really interesting things across, Canada, and now that has actually expanded. It's across the world now. So even sometimes your partner, is in like Denmark or something that's on your project with you, or somewhere around the world. But a course like that would be amazing for you to look into. And really the guidebook, it shows every level. So if you're just starting at that review level, we've got lots there for you. That's a great starting point. So I hope that helps.
Last question. Doa had a question, and Doa is a CRA in oncology. Can I get your thoughts on the best ways, tools in sharing research results related to rare diseases and oncology studies when unfortunately the participant may have progressed or passed away, so there is sensitivity in reconnecting with the family?
Wow, that's a great question. Yes, that's a challenging question. I guess in my own experience with Family Leader Program, um, usually I just end up reaching out to the family directly, and I kind of leave room for them to ignore me, is kind of what I do. So if I was sending an email to share the results of a study, usually what I write actually is something like, grief expression looks different for everyone. You know, these are the results of the study, and maybe talk about how that might be valuable. And I'd probably mention legacy. Like if you really focus on what that child or family contributed to research at that time, and really focus on the value and meaning of the work that they did, I think that can be a really, I guess, an approach that I think a family would be receptive to. This has happened in our program. Like we do have family leaders and like former patients where this was the case, and this is exactly what I did. And many families, you'll find, they actually like to continue on in research even after their child has passed away, because it's a way that they get to still share their child's name and really carry their legacy forward in a way that will improve the lives for other children and families. So this is a sensitive area for sure, and I really appreciate this question. But yeah, that expression can be different. And even in the book I was describing, The Wounded Storyteller, he talks about that, and that sometimes families, they're in a chaos narrative still, where things are still unsure, and they're not, you know, can't make sense of where they want to go forward. But then sometimes we get to like a point where we're in a restorative narrative or a quest narrative, and you'll see that with CHEO families, you know, whose children have passed away, and that's really part of their healthy grieving, is actually to continue on in the work. One of the engagement leads through Osho and Friends that I work closely with, her own son died several years ago, and yeah, she describes the work she does now as really his legacy. Yeah, so every family is different. Sometimes they need a bit of time, but I think it's important as researchers that even if that makes us a little bit uncomfortable, that we push through that, to leave that door open for them if they ever want to come back, or if they want to hear the results, or yeah, I hope that helps. I know your question was a bit more geared towards participants, but something along that vein I think would be helpful.
Kim, that's a really beautiful note to end on. So please join me in thanking Kim for an outstanding rounds. I think we all learned a lot today. And I don't know if it was put in the evaluation link is in the chat, so please go in and complete the Grand Rounds evaluation link, and have a wonderful day. Thanks very much, everyone.